Hello, 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 hello. Welcome to the Mastafran art stream. I'm your host, Ryan Francis, the one and only artist here in my pixel-faced glory. Of course, I kind of sort of have my webcam working, but I like doing this right now. I just got back home from work, so I am slightly tired. But, kind of relieved that I don't have to do much right now. So now it's time to just get back to tackling this illustration right here. I actually haven't drawn or worked on this all week because I've been video editing more often. And I am pushing to get more video content edited and posted on YouTube and all that. Both the Black Mass channel and my channel. So I've been combing through my old Twitch VODs and kind of seeing, what would actually be salvageable. I managed to find some good stuff. I've been pretty happy with what I've been finding at the moment. And basically, I've just been tackling some just teaching myself to just edit faster and get myself to get over the hump of boring editing. So yeah, just doing that and pushing myself to get more into editing. So that's kind of just what I'm currently up to, is tackling editing overall. So at the moment I'm tackling some, just currently working on this illustration of the large Magic the Gathering thing. And, it's been pretty decent. I wanted to darken her skin more so it doesn't look so great looking. Because it's sort of bothering me now that I'm looking at it, because I worked on this character last stream and that turned out pretty well, so I'm gonna see if I can get as many more characters done as I can, and you get to watch me cycle through my menus in hopes that I can get myself to call her Blue Elf. Get myself to actually be slightly faster at working at this, and I can do what I can. I can never remember these names, so I'm just gonna call them Flapper, Blue Girl, all that stuff. So, what have I been up to for, I'd say, the past, week? I skipped out on just my everyday streaming because I just want to just reduce the amount of streaming because I am going back to work soon. So that's also a notable task I need to worry about. So that's me kind of just getting to working at some, slowly and steadily reducing the amount of time I need to stream for the day. And it's mostly me just working on my stuff, basically. Like, I'm slightly unfocused, I'll make sense of that. It's me trying to highlight this body, so I should probably just start again. So, I haven't streamed that much last week because I want to have more time to edit. So that's basically the main reason why I didn't stream as much as I should have. Sonnet will just make it so shade out the stuff under. See, I'm a good artist. I just need to make this work for me. I'm a good artist. Yeah, sometimes you need to get yourself re-motivated to actually just paint. I haven't painted all day or drawn anything at all. Not even a little doodle in my pocket sketchbook. I've mostly just been busy at work tackling my stupid work stuff. And there's still been a lot of problems with the management. I've been told that I have one more student that I need to drop off, and nobody in the office thought to mention it to me, so I gotta go back to do my run once again tomorrow. So I'm super happy about that stuff. Oh wait, that's not a lick, that's her actual hair. Okay. But yeah, I've been working on that, plus video editing, and setting up a trip with my friend to go out to Arizona sometime soon, and figuring just that stuff out. I'm gonna be visiting an anime con and not necessarily tabling at an anime con. I tried tabling it to it, but you know, it's I wasn't able to get a table in on time, and I'm not really gonna disclose where the anime con is until I actually am tabling there. Mostly because, well, it's none of your damn business for one, and two, like, I'm not selling anything. So that's kind of just neither here nor there. Oh. I think I used a different tool at once. Let's start it, because I've been using Concept Craig. Yeah, I think Concept Craig's my crutch brush, because it solves most of my just bad art problems. Just Concept Craig it all. And I think what I've mostly been doing is just using it to just get in all the highlights here. And the reason I usually highlight at the bottom is because the eye is concave. So when you're shading an eye, I should probably like find a blank spot so I can demonstrate. This is a nice blank. So when you're shading an eye here, and we're gonna call this ball an eye, you have the eyeball, the pupil, no, the iris and the pupil. The iris is where you know, all the eye stuff is. So what this is actually an inside cone. So you're seeing pupil and the eye color, which is, I think, the iris or the corona, I think. Well, yeah, this is the eye color. That's the pupil. And I'll just correspond each to each and call this eye ball. Where's the E? So when you're shading, you're collectively imagining this ball is a big round object. So just like you'd be shading a normal ball, all the shading would be here. Thing is, because the light is going this way, a majority of the light, so we're just gonna call this maybe like light and just like that. Most of the light is going on this surface here. Those looking shiny, right? All the light's hitting here, and everything the light doesn't touch is dark. Thing is, this area right here does not hit the light because it's a surface, which means it's dark while this side is light. Therefore, while this area is not hitting the light, it's actually in darkness. And this area is not seeing that light that's bouncing on the ball of light. So, because the basic light is just bouncing, and then the concave cubal, which is going down, instead of convex, which is going up, and I should make a floor or something like that. Basically, the pupil's going inside slightly. And since it's going inside, it's being covered by the roundness of the eyeball, and it's covered by the light. And basically, that's basically just how you're shading eyes. So, in this demonstration, and I'm probably just gonna get rid of you. Yeah, okay. So in this demonstration, what you're seeing right now is me shading this rough area here. And this is where the eyes will drain out. It's a little ovally, but it is going inside. The eye's going inside. It's tough to see right now, but it makes sense the closer you get to the eye here. And when you highlight the eye with a lighter color, it shouldn't be white, but something lighter than this. Yeah, don't go completely white just yet. Just make sure you're going highlights right here. And this is where the eyelid is. This is where the eyelid will be shading all the stuff. Or this is this shading down here, and what this should really be is darker. They're gonna call this highlights layer. I can't type today. And call you shadow layer. Blah. And we usually stick the shadow layer below the light because overall light takes more priority than shadow since it's getting rid of the darks in this image. And I colored the shadows cooler, so I make sure to tilt the shadows to be closer to the cool section. So if it's red, it would go closer to the indigos and the blues and stuff like that. That way, a nice dark contrast. Nice dark. And you could probably go slightly darker with the faraway faces since it's far away. And what I use is what I normally use, and I'm just gonna unuse tab, is I normally use a tab. I have my shortcut key set to switch my colors to A and transparent because I frequently erase colors more than I paint colors. And And technically, I could probably like set it up so it just switches to my bottom color, but I don't really use it because I'll accidentally switch to it. I could probably do like maybe Control A or Alt A. You know what? I don't like that it's a new animation layer, so I'm actually going to change my shortcuts to Alt A, actually. So shortcut settings. My stuff here, menu commands, switch colors. Let me see if I can't find colors. Yeah, I'm just fiddling with my shortcuts just live on stream because why not? You know, it's a nice pro tip. Just if you have a shortcut key, you know, you can readjust it from the defaults. You don't have to stick with the default shortcut. Just when people are doing tutorials, they'll refer to the default shortcut keys because that's, you know, it's not assuming somebody else made different shortcut keys. It's the default Clip Studio Paint shortcut keys. Let's see, options. Drawing color. Switch between main and sub color. Alt A. Just main color and transparent. I'll do that. Okay, that should work. So. Uh-oh. Did I mess up here? Okay. I was like, what the heck did I just do? So, it actually legit works now. Which is nice, actually. Though, I really should just have it so A is default switch color, but I already have it all as I've always had it, so maybe this would improve my painting if I did this, but that's neither here nor there. What I really need to be doing is getting rid of the highlights here, because this is supposed to be where the colors shine. And yeah, that's it's supposed to be. Yeah, I just lost my train of shot. I actually don't like how dull these eyes are. There's a wee bit more saturation. Maybe like tilted blue. Yeah, that looks better. Then I can just paint over. Yeah, that's looking better. Sometimes you will go through a long process of wondering whatever color is actually working. You kind of like realize, oh, this color is not working. I should change to something that is working. And pick the colors that actually work for you. And most of this is a long process. You're not going to get it immediately. It's not like one of those one-size-fits-all sort of proposals or deals and things like that. You're gonna not know exactly what you need to do. And that's painting. It's everything you're painting is a completely different... Well, it's not completely different. You can make a basic workflow. It's just you gotta get yourself used to painting in general. Hey, Joshy. Yes, yeah, sometimes it is an experiment, and you're constantly figuring out what the heck you want to do with the rendering, and you never know what you're gonna need to do until you gotta do it. But you can train yourself in the basics. Like, because I know where lighting's supposed to be exactly, I know which direction light's supposed to go. So in this case, it's all supposed to be from above and then inside. So the way the head's tilted, you're seeing light go to above and below. And that's what I'm trying to do with the hair and things like that. Try to just emphasize the above, the hair going above, and then vanishing as it goes back into the scalp. Yeah, because there's no alter color button, so you can't just paint. Yeah, you can't just immediately decide that that's going to be light, because there's so much room for mistake. You're going to be re-editing it, and you might as well just do it right the first time so you don't mess it up. And I just erase this just so I can have a wee bit of texture, just enough for people to understand that this is top the hair. And a good pro tip is to work your hair in planes and think of them as large blocks of light as opposed to strands of hair, because I'm not doing every little thin strand. That's not really how hair looks from far away. It's larger blocks and things like that. Like, I'm not really doing this necessarily and drawing every little strand, because that's not really how shading works, and you're going to waste a lot of time. What you really can do is just make large blocks of paint, and that's more than enough to demonstrate that her hair's looking like light. So that's a solid pro tip for all who aren't savvy in the painting and things like that. It's my super basic understanding of painting. I don't paint as often as I should, and it's mostly because I rush all my artwork. Basically, I usually will rush everything, because whenever I draw, I usually will have that spur of the moment, I'm on fire idea, and I'll probably sustain that idea for maybe an hour, 2 hours, or stuff like that. And then once that hour's kind of just burned out, I lose passion for that painting, and I don't want to work on it again and again. So it makes it tough to stick with a bigger illustration if I want to have a painted style. And sometimes with a cell shade animation style, which I did get started learning with, like I have a cartoon style, cell shading would work. But sometimes I feel like it's lazy. Like, I feel like people aren't receptive to just the cell shading style. And so it never feels as cool to me. Like, it feels more like vector art because my art's so clean in general when I just draw by hand. Okay. Well, her hair does adhere to light here, so I might as well at least have a wee bit more here. And Sometimes it makes me think that I should rush all my art, because you see all these other artists, they have fairly elaborate painting, and you kind of like wonder, I should probably paint more often, because all the respectable artists are painting, and kind of like compare yourself to other artists, and they paint and you should paint too. Like, it's a valuable skill having good renders. Yeah, like a balance between the two, right? Oh yeah, you know, doing the cell shading and just the painting and stuff like that. Because I mean, a good rule of thumb is to plan out your blocks before you blend and things like that. Like, you can do things where you have you know what, I might as well just get started on the heavier highlights, where you can just mark where the highest lights are and the planes of the face. Yeah, you can mark where the high points are, and if your brush is good, it will blend out when you do the low transparency. And let me see if I can't, because usually when I use Copic markers, they're good enough that when I flick my brush, it will lose its opacity and its flow and stuff like that on my personal command. It's just when I use the Concept Craig brush, it's not as perfect as I'd like for it to be. Which, I mean, it's, so far I have it, it's not too bad. I just need to adjust the edges a little bit more. I'm interested in how you see your eye highlight style. You know, it does nothing good to compare anyone else's style. Yeah, I know. And how I see your eye highlight style. Oh, I just talked about that a few minutes ago, where I explained that the eyes are concave. They're inside the pupils. They're going inside. So because the light's coming from above, the pupil would actually, this side of the pupil would hit more than that side because it's going inside like a tube, a triangular tube. So you're seeing more of the highlights here, and as it goes down, it gets shinier and shinier. And you'll have the highest light, so probably need to go a layer higher so it's well above. Maybe an off-white here. And the highest lights, and let me double check. It's going up here, so be all the way here. The highest point of the eye would be up here. And then you have the top of the, the lens or whatever it's called. It's usually where contact lenses go, but that's the natural jelly that would cover up the iris and things like that. And I might need to go over the line art sometimes. But let me put you actually under the above line art irises. Actually, here, it's the irises. Okay, I think I know what I'm talking about. Let me see if I can't find some eye anatomy, because yeah, usually I do it in the pupil. Yeah, the reason you're doing it in the pupil is because it represents, and let me see if I can't find like an eye anatomy chart here. eyeball anatomy. Bada bing, bada boom. Yeah, this will work. So, what we see here, and we'll just go here. So, this is a super sloppy picture of the eye, and maybe I should download this. You know what? Yeah, I'll download it. Download it, open it in the desktop. So, we're just going to, come on. There we go. Come on. Okay. So, the way this works, I'm going to be super fast with this, is the entire eyeball, and yeah, the entire eyeball is a giant round spear. And what you're seeing is all the light here, and we're going to put the light in red. And all the light in red is going in this direction. So, collectively, it's all here under the shading. Like a round guy, like a round eye. The iris is actually concave. It's actually going inside the eyeball. So, because it's going inside the eyeball, like a cone, and make a thinner B, like a cone, all the light that's going that way is actually being covered by the inside wall of the cone. So more of the light's going on the left side of the cone than, well, the right side of the cone than the left side of the cone. So, in this case, it would be going over this light ball, and the inside of the cone is actually at the top. So you're getting more shading at the top here, and this is a really bad example because this diagram is flatter. But, you know, for now we're gonna pretend that this is concave. So, when it's highlighted, you're actually seeing the, I'm gonna call it the lens, because I actually don't know the contact lens here. So this is actually outside, which technically is also being affected by the shading here. But usually artists don't draw that because that's more and more shading. That's a lot of elaborate shading. But what they instead do is mark the absolute highest highlights of the eyeball pupil. But it also will have the little highlight on the concave part that's that's getting hit by the light. So that's usually why you'll see in a lot of cartoons they'll have, maybe I'm gonna draw the most anime eye imaginable for my eye. You'll probably like see anime eyes where you will probably see like a Pac-Man. Oh wow, okay. You're seeing a Pac-Man eye here, and you might see an eye like this, where it'll be slightly pieing out, and then you have a Pac-Man eye like that. And that's basically a cartoon representation of what's happening here, is you're seeing the basic eye being like that. And of course you have the eyelid. Yeah, the eyelid's doing its eyelid stuff, and I drew on this actual diagram. And basically that's how you do the eyes here. I'm not gonna save. And this is me basically just really exaggerating how large these eyes are. And again, I don't use complete white just yet, just a slightly off-white. Because the reason you don't use white, and why a lot of artists will say, oh, don't use pure white, is because you really want to use it as a last resort. When you use pure white, that's the highest highlight in the color. once you pick white, you can't go back, really. That's the furthest you can go. So it's best to save all your whites for your absolute highest high colors. Same with black. Like, there's nothing stopping you from just using pure black, especially if you're using an ink drawing that's only going to be black and white anyway. But it's better that you use black when it's your absolute last, if it's in the deepest, darkest corner of your drawing and it's extremely faint. It's the absolute furthest back color that you can muster, because black is a high contrast color. Like black and white, they're really high contrast colors. So if you use them, they're going to stick out the hardest compared to all the other drawings here. So that's a fast way to kind of just get yourself some slightly art stuff. Yeah, I used to paint waterfalls, and when it crashes down, it's really light, off-white, and layered with different shades of it, right? Yeah. When you paint waterfalls, you'll be... Yeah, because the water's reflecting off the light, like all the mist and stuff like that. Drinking. And when you're, it makes it look 3D. The water's looking really watery looking, and looks fantastic. Alright, back to shadow layer. And basically, when you're paying attention to your shadow layers, you will constantly be looking at where the light doesn't hit. And that's usually the point of rendering, is just hit the spots where it doesn't hit and you'll be fantastic. That's basically just how I paint overall, is try to find the spots where the light doesn't hit. Now we could go over things like colored light and how colors are in relationship to other colors. Like the skin's a good example. So if you remember my previous rendering, you know what? Let's open the previous file here. Yeah, let's open it alright, flat 5. So when I initially had her skin, and let's see if I can do bingo. So when I initially had her skin, it was a bit gray. It was a bit pale. And I think when I was doing her skin, I was going straight off of her magic card here. And that was this magic card. And I realized I'm going off of her lighting and not really her skin. Like, her skin actually looks completely different between here. But I'd say it's overall brown. Like, I feel like she's a black flapper girl. And obviously I don't know the lore of magic. I don't know if she's actually black or like a Moor or Red Guard or something. Like Elder Scrolls and all that stuff. Black people, whatever. But yeah, basically, I wanted her... I didn't like that her skin was just so gray looking. I was like, yeah, that doesn't really look right. And you gotta remember that skin, even darker skin, is warm and has blood inside of it. When a human body has blood inside, and that's gonna sound absolutely horrifying, but it is true. When she's full of like blood and fat and liquids and things like that, she's redder, and this is a redder color than... Yeah. Let me see if I can't... Yeah, this is a redder color overall than this color, which is much lighter gray, much less red. And I want to do is established that she does have life inside of her. That's how that goes. So, since dark skin is tough to do most of the time, for like most artists, you're not really taught how to do dark skin, and it's a matter of practicing and kind of like finding out, and obviously looking at black people and figuring out, okay, this is more of a red color because it's red. No, she's full of blood, so she'd be warm. And obviously she would also like adhere to lighting. And if you look at skin references and things like that, and there's like a painting thing where you're having the middle of the face, it's reddish, and then closer to the top of the skull, where the skull is at its closest. Like, there's less fat at the top of your head right here than there is. So there's less fat and muscle at the top of your skull than there is in your cheeks and things like that. And it has a slight red to the cheeks, as opposed to... There's a slight red in the middle of the face, where the cheeks and your fat are, compared to the top of your skull and the bottom of your jaw. That's why a lot of people will see like the infamous Tumblr nose, or you'll probably see a lot of Russian artists paint more red in the middle of their faces and things like that, is because there's a lot of red and fat and blood going between that face. That's where most of the blood and stuff is, which makes sense because that's where a lot of the like muscle and nerves are to make your eyes and your face and your nose move. So it makes sense. Like down here, it's more pale and bluish, so you tilt it more towards the blue side and you desaturate slightly. And that's usually where you'll see with men it's slightly more pronounced, because that's where their beard stubble would be. You're slightly seeing their stubble, and it's also more bone down there, but also not as much fat. So down there is mostly just where hair and stubble is. And women do have this too, it's just, women do not grow as much hair down there, depending on genetics. I mean, the bearded lady exists and she's fucking cool. Like, there are still bearded ladies out there and they're sick circus performers. They could probably do things like have multiply. Yeah, normal's fine. Like, I feel like this actually looks pretty good. I'll keep this. They find a way to blend you. Yeah, one thing that's kind of dope about just experimenting around is you'll end up finding cool ideas for just painting. But yeah, the skin actually looks pretty solid. Like slight blush. I do want to get rid of the shadow area, because this is supposed to be in shadow. I'd like making sure the lighting is getting away from the shadow a bit more. But yeah, so far so good. It's looking pretty fantastic. You need to highlight the hair just a little bit more to push things forward. So, layer. Yeah, and I've completely... See, it's easy to just lose track of all your layers because you can just make layers really fast and you don't really have time to name your layers because you're just so into painting. And you end up like making a whole new layer, which you really should be naming your layers, but you really don't. Like, I mean, sometimes, some layers are named. That can work. Like, if you have folders that are named, that's very helpful, because the reason you name your layers is both for yourself and for has anyone else who will need to use this file and things like that. That's why you get in the habit of naming your files. Does beat the Brewers 1-0 in third, by the way. Oh, that's cool. I don't keep track of baseball as much as I should, but I mean, you know, look at me. I'm a turbo nerd who cares about sports ball. I mean, I slightly like sports. I used to watch the Bulls back in the 90s just like everyone else. So technically I'm more of a fair weather fan. But, you know, basketball was a phenomenon in the 90s. Like, holy cow, basketball was something. Like, you couldn't escape basketball fever back in the 90s. Like, Space Jam was coming out, and like Barkley Shut Up and Jam, NBA Jam was coming out. Michael Jordan was the final boss of basketball. I kind of prefer the White Sox overall. I'm more of South Side. Yeah, I was like, yeah, the Chicago Bulls were just the absolute monsters. Like, they were the real monsters of Midway, not the Bears, honestly. Like, you know, the Bears were okay in the 90s. I mean, you had, like, Brian Urlacher, I think? And I forget the rest of them. It's like, you had, like, Jordan, Scottie Pippen, later, like, Dennis Rodman. They were just all there pretty much just crushing everything. And, yeah, it kind of, like, tapered out. I mean, like, you had, like, great guys in the 2000s, like, what's his name? Derrick Rose, I think. And he was pretty alright, but, you know, it tapered out in the 2000s, and yeah, it wasn't as exciting, because I think everyone else was starting to keep up. Like, Kobe was rising, Shaq was rising, everyone was starting to catch up with the power of the Bulls, so, you know, things were evening out as things were going. And I could probably push the highlights even further up. Yeah, and if you want a probably just a rough demonstration of just that feeling of the 90s, 90s Bulls specifically, you should see the documentary, The Last Dance. And I think it's on Netflix, because I saw it first on Netflix, but that documentary is pretty nice. It's it talks about the Bulls back then, and you know, it also talks to the players. Like, it interviews Jordan, Pippen, and all that stuff, and they both recount how, you know, their experiences that was happening at that time, and it's pretty fascinating to kind of just remember that insane energy. So even if you're not interested in sports in general, it's still a nice narrative. Like, I'd say documentaries have been getting much better these days, because I guess production values have just gone sky high. Bada bing, bada boom. I'm liking the lighting so far. I think I'm getting better at rendering hair. Or maybe this brush, I'm getting better at using this brush overall. Yeah, because I think several years ago I would hate rendering hair. So far I'm doing better at rendering hair. Like, I'm pretty passable now that I'm just looking at this. And even now I could probably like push this even higher. Yeah, just nice zoom out. Yeah, nice like zoom out. And again, everything's supposed to be from the top down. Okay. slightly over rendered compared to this, but yeah, I think I'll let this go for now because yeah, the hair is really well rendered. So let's get to this spot here, which is supposed to be a flower, I believe. Tilt you yellower. Yeah, I'm not gonna do too much with the flower because one, it's not the focus of like the character's face. Basically, you want to prioritize focusing and detail management. And a nice way to detail manage is to pick which spot of the where you want the eyes to be drawn to. So if you want the eyes to be drawn to like the face and stuff like that, add more details and interesting spots to the face, and then taper off the amount of details away from the face. So this flower, that's not super important, but you still want to adhere to the lighting because it still adheres to the light. It still exists in space, so you still gotta do that. And obviously this kind of stuff takes a lot of management. Keeping track of details is tough, but as long as you remember that knowledge, just remember that you're drawing the eye, you're not drawing every freaking detail out there. You're just drawing what's relevant to the drawings, and in this case it's the characters inside the food. So the characters are the point, and then the foods can be the second point, and then the tiny little details like the folds of their clothes or the pores of their skin or whatever, or like little freckles and tiny hairs and things like that. And detail management is an acquired art, and that's mainly how most artists who can draw giant bouts of detail without getting completely overwhelmed is because they at least a good artist will plan out how long they're gonna be doing that. Yeah, and it also has to go with the rest of the image, of course. Pardon me. So yeah, what am I doing here? By adding the pie here. I like pie filling. Now then, we're doing that, and we're pushing you slightly down. Now, the reason why food looks appetizing, like Miyazaki food and things like that, is because he looks at restaurant flyers and notices that the restaurant flyers are extremely saturated. Like all the foods are well saturated. If you look at a restaurant flyers, or maybe like a Japanese restaurant flyer, and you see like the food pictures on there, you'll notice that the food is really high colored. It has a lot of very high colors, high contrast, all that stuff. And basically, what you're doing, kind of just pushing that high contrast plus the high saturation. And that's what I'm doing here, is I'm trying to use my default colors that I have here to push the saturation more. And that should at least get these colors nice and shiny. Of course, there's some more stuff here, like you'll add some whites when it's appropriate. You'll add like the shines and basic stuff. Push the green to the bluish because the here's too light mostly. We're actually going to do the basic shading here. In fact, yeah, this is shading roughly. And we'll have a little bit of shading at the ends because this is supposed to be some pie crust. And of course, we're adding some pie crust here because it adheres to the fingers of the middle lady. This is supposed to be her third hand. And nobody's actually gonna notice that, but I will. I'll remember it. And of course, you have the lime here. And you're moving the lime up. Yeah, the reason I do this is this triangle, obviously, it goes saturation, then, yeah, this down and, wow, here to here is the saturation, and then here to down here is the, what's it called, the value. So when you're further down here, you have higher value. When you're further up here, you have well, actually no, this is where more shading, and then more tint, and then more what's it, high hue, I believe. No, more saturation, or maybe like luminance or whatever the hell it is, because I believe it's what's it, tint, shade, and I think luminance is what it's called. I forget their real terms, but they're from, you know, Color Theory 101, but that's like the Munsell chart, I think. I forget what. I barely understand color theory, but just know that you add more white, you add more black, you add more color, or you add less black, you get more of that pure color. So you just add more white, you get more white, and then everything in between is the rough thing. Then you just use this circle to change the hue. And ta-da! That's my tutorial on using the color wheel, or at least this color wheel. There are other ways you can do it, like you could rock the palettes if you'd like. I personally prefer using the color wheel, and sometimes I'll use the color slider, but it's mainly if I have no other choice. If I have no other choice but to use a color slider, I always set the color slider to hue, saturation, value, then RGB or CMYK. Even in Photoshop, even in Clip Studio Paint, even in my pixel art programs, I always try to find a way to get it to hue, saturation, value, or at least in this case, luminance. This is supposed to be value, but for some reason it's called L. But this is saturation, this is value, really. And then this is hue, the actual colors. But yeah, overall I prefer to use the color wheel, because the reason I like using the color wheel is because I can get some nice arcs in and then just push it yellow. Like if you just use, you know what, I'll pop this open. There yet. Got it. We'll just scribble on the thing even further. Like fast gray. Nah. Put the gray as far as possible. Okay. So we're just gonna go off of here. So if you just use the hue just all in the middle, you'll just have the color here. If you slide just the luminance here, it's getting more and more white as you go, until finally it's pure, unreasonable white. But as you go darker, it gets darker, 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 until finally black. And same goes for pushing the saturation. As you push the saturation down, it gets grayer, gets grayer, gets grayer, until it's a gray mess. Then you can push the saturation up, grayer, more vibrant, more vibrant, more vibrant, more vibrant, until it's purple AF. You know, just all the way up here. I could probably, whatever. But yeah, these two colors are the same, and yet they can go through that by just being purple. Now, the big trick is using both these plus adjusting the hues to give you more interesting looking colors. So, if you push the highlights up while pushing the hue towards a warmer color, you'll get a slightly more interesting color as you go. Corresponding to as bright as possible. And obviously I could just adjust the slider while bumping up the saturation, while adjusting the hue so it goes warmer here. And you know, you could play it safe. But as you do that, you are pushing the lighting brighter and brighter. Probably like more hue and saturation here. And just keep going. Boom. More and more. And you're getting more interesting colors than simply sliding the shading down or the grays up. And as you desaturate, you're pushing it cooler. So you're pushing it towards the blue side more and more. Doing it in slight increments so the shading start up. Oh, I probably should have did. This further. I'll probably like keep it down here because that's as blue as it goes. Because if it goes any further, it'll like go back to the warm blues. So I'm gonna keep it down here till it goes as dark as possible. It starts like looking like more of an off blue, and things start looking like these colors are gonna be interesting. Now, how are you gonna use that in your rendering? So, how I usually use it in my rendering depends on the material. Come on, please save. Alright, you're saving, you're saving. So, how I usually use it in my material is say you're doing a basic shading thingamabobber, and you just do this stuff. And there are multiple ways how you can do this type. Yep. This type of shading. Yeah. Now then, if you're doing something like rubber and things like that, the speed in which it goes down in the darkness and stuff like that is much more gradual than how it goes down like glass and things like that. Hey, did I copy and paste that image? Yes, I did. Because we don't have time. Well, actually, I do have time. It's just I'm wasting a lot of it. basically, that'll work. Basically, the way spears would be highlighted are a slower, more blended, smoother increment. Let me see if I can't smoothly blend these together with the airbrush. Yeah, because when you're rendering with the airbrush, you'll be using a more smoother render. And the gradient will be much, much finer. Now then, if you go from central purple to a further highlight purple, so maybe like this purple to say this pink. Try like to do this. And you're just going as far between each color as possible. And then you're hitting the darks like right then and there. You'll notice that's a slightly harder contrast. It looks more shiny as it goes. So you're seeing it shine more often. That's, associated with metal, and you'll have that metal look to it. Of course, metal also reflects off surfaces, so you'll probably have a slight rim light to it. And then that can be blended. Yeah, there's no blend. Well, there is a blender tool. It's just I'm so decent at blending that I don't really need to use it. Like there's let me see if because I believe Clip Studio has a blender tool. Let me see if I can't find the damn thing. As Lookify. I could swear it had a smudge tool or something. Ah, there it is, the blend brush. So I usually don't use a blend brush that much because I'm so used to just Photoshop painting and things like that. But overall, you really don't need to blend until the last resort, because what you really want is to establish the lighting better. You want to make sure that you have really good lighting spots here, and they're nice and large to just have a nice high contrast. And it blends with the gray, but we're gonna ignore that. I'm gonna go back to normal brush here because I want the white. And back to blend. Yeah, I usually don't use a blend brush because I'll either use the airbrush and then just color there myself, because I learned how to paint with that overall. It looks a little blurry, but that's usually just how I tackle my stuff. But yeah, just going from cell shading and then blending in the edges makes it much easier to tackle. I've actually completely lost track of how I'm doing this explanation of how I just render and things like that. But I'd say a nice basic rule of thumb is to just make sure you keep your direction consistent. Like, don't paint here, but then just put shading and wrap it around all even and stuff like that. Like, that's not how it's supposed to look. Like, it looks like you understand the idea of shading looks good, but you're not, like, understanding that shading is... Yeah, you're understanding that the shading looks good, but because it looks 3D, but you're not really understanding that it's adhering to light in a slightly realistic sense. So pick a lighting direction, and usually a good rule of thumb is start from top to bottom. And you never need to worry about something. Yeah, it looks like a Super Nintendo button, doesn't it? Oh yeah, that's another thing. Like, this could look like a button, or it probably looks more like a flat edge button than a round surface, unless you blend it. Because if you blend it, it looks slightly more like a spear than if you just left it and it was less and less button-like. And of course, we'll use the in-between colors to smooth up the blending, make it look better and betterer. Of course, you'll adjust the edges so it'll stick out from the gray, and add like a little rim light because it adheres to the reflection of the floor, and you'll probably push the shadow right here. And then it'll blend out as it leaves the surface, or at least it leaves the area affected by the ball. And you could use the rest of the floor to be affected by that ball. But that's the slight art tutorial that I've completely made up completely. So that's how it'd be. Or about a reflection of the shiny metal gray in the ball. Oh yeah, it'd probably be more of a grayish color here. And it'd be probably more desaturated, slightly darker. And probably just look like this. Like desaturate, but have a slight light, so you can actually tell the ball is being affected by the gray. Like push the light a little bit more. And that's like a super sloppy explanation of just rendering, so that's how it be. Hey Paper Piggy, how's it going? Glad you could stop by. I just finished a improvised tutorial on rendering lighting, just so I can just talk about nerding out over just painting and my silly knowledge of painting. And I was just about to get to drawing this, actually. Let's get back to just tackling this stuff here. Ah, I know what's up. So, this slight highlight, tilt it warmer. Okay, I'm like wondering why this ain't super bright. I'm thinking, oh, I know why. Alright, now I figured it out. Because the lime is over here. I'll call you lime. Yeah, you see, lime was up here because I painted a new line right here. Because I painted a lot of stuff. But yeah, here's the lime, and now I'm going to put a highlight on that lime. And it should look real good here. Adhering to the surface. But then, push you slightly lighter, because this is the corner of the surface right here. Corner surface. Go as light as possible, as this is the edge. I could probably paint over the line art now. Yeah, paint over the line art. You have a nice bright edge up here. And you're just pushing it as high as possible. Because the absolute high, the highest parts of the object is up here, and you're closing it up as you go. And sometimes I'm probably just ignore my line art as I go, because why not? So a partial spear, partial, it's a cylinder actually. It's just a really thin cylinder. So just like a spear, this would be a cylinder. So the shading would be right here because the light's going that way. Unlike a spear that's roundish in a way. So the light would be in this middle because that's the middle of the cylinder there. That's neither here nor there. But yeah, basically this is one flat cylinder just on its side. And cylinders, the lighting is going to be at the absolute top. And the slight edge is because, you know, lighting's practically everywhere and it'll be slightly round. And the cylinder's at a slight tilt. So if it was going down, this is where the light would hit. The light would hit right here first, and then fall off. So yeah, that's what I'm demonstrating right here. And it can be tough. Now I'm trying to establish where the shading would be. And figuring out that the fruit is transparent can be tough. And you're basically adding rough shading to where the fruit is transparent. So it's slightly darker on the inside as the fruit vanishes to the other side of the surface. Because this is supposed to be the vegetable of the not the vegetable, but not the skin either. This is the I guess jelly part of the fruit, like right here. Then this is the rest of the fruit, like going through each other. I forget the actual proper name of the edible part of the lime. Like the edible fruit part of the lime. But basically, this is where the hard spot is, while it's going through the entire fruit, and it's still relatively skinny. Back to exactly this, the pie filling. Let me go back to look at my key fly pie reps just so I can find it. Fantastic, it's not in my refs. 1 second. Key lime pie. I bet it's still my downloads folder, isn't it? On. Can you return me back to my references so I can find my food, please? Thank you, returners. Oh, fantastic. I don't even have it. I thought I'd download it. You know what? I'll wing it. I'll wing it. Sometimes I have all the references and sometimes I just don't. Yeah, well, that's how it goes. I can still just make this work. This could be a deeper contrast here. This looks good. And the brush I'm using is a brush called Concept Craig. I got from what's his name? Friendin brushes. And those are basically just a bunch of Clip Studio Paint brushes that he is really good at making, and it helped me ease into my frustrations with learning Clip Studio Paint. So, you know, I recommend Friendin.com, FRENDEN, for his stuff. And he's really good with that. So yeah, kind of just rendering this hand mostly to just establish that this is the same hand as the other hand. There we are. And basically she's done overall. Like, I'd say she's done being rendered. I could get to the hippos now. I might as well. Let's see. Yep. Practically completely different. So let's get to the hippos, huh? Hippo. Left hippo. Alrighty. And let's actually like triple check if this is the right color for the hippo. So what's this called? The philidograph. Yeah, roughly a little pale, but I could probably like reduce the amount of I could push it darker and then that'll work. Yeah, that looks good. Alright, let's paint on you. There we are. Alright, paint on top of you. on top of the snout. And basically, just like anything, you are treating it like a plane, like a series of spears. A lot of living things are basically just a series of just simple shapes. So in this case, this would be basically a big head of a spear. Are they going to be wet or dry? They're going to be wet. I'm going to shine them up. But you do need to at least start with the basic shading here. Because overall, technically, they'd be like this. And then you sculpt the contrast as it goes. Because it would fall off right around here. Or actually, no. It would probably just be here. And then it would fall off. Because it would be under the nose. And then there'd be a higher highlight here. Yes. And basically just sloppier rendering to kind of just establish that they're slightly round. And then you would probably add a slightly lighter bottom spot to establish that there's a bit of a rim going here. Super slight rim. It's faint, but it's there. Though, I am going to add a heavier shine to the bottom, because they are shiny. I'm kind of like getting rid of a little bit of color to push the shading some more. Now, push you higher. Push this warmer, because this is the absolute top of where the surface of this character is. This is the highest possible plane of the character, because further it's falling off down here, so it would actually blend right here. This would actually be a higher contrast, couldn't it? I like blend you just a wee bit more. Like here, eyes meet. A little bit of that. And you start like painting above the line art here. There we are. And makes a slight shine at the inside here just to establish that it does hit space. There's space inside the ear. It's slightly getting hit by the light, just slightly. It's not a lot. It establishes that it, like, rolls in. And I'd probably just do this to erase the mistakes here. Maybe I could just use the airbrush to kind of just smooth these down. Yeah. There we are. Use this to cause the saw, what's it called? Blend in the what's it called? Blend in the planes so they're falling off while still having good edges. The key to making it looking slightly less like van art is to remember the harder edges next to the softer blends. This is not a Super NES game. Oh, this is from Mega Man 8. Incorrect. I don't know, I'm strict about my playlists, and that was not a 16-bit music thing. And I realized that several probably passed by me without me noticing. And when to do a hard edge or a soft edge, right? Oh yeah. When you decide to do a hard edge or a soft edge is basically just depending on one, the surface, and two, the lighting. I personally recommend you start with hard edges and then soften edges as you see fit. But usually you want to soften edges as they go towards the shading. So keep the edges hard closer to the highest part of the light, and then soften the edges as they leave the light. So you have a nice contrast between the heavy lights and the softer shading. Alright, even higher. Zoom in, because I want to establish that this is oh yeah. Okay. I think up to here is where I'm just using my off-whites. Again, this is practically the highest point in the light. You want this to basically demonstrate that this is the highest point and closest to the light. Again, you don't use white until you're completely at the top. And then, if you're going to use pure white, it'll probably just be all the way up here. I think that's as shiny as I can get. Of course, you know, there's still the body, so I gotta get that done. Gotta hit the highest part of the body right here. It could, like, tilt you browner, actually. It'll probably, like, tilt you red. It actually kind of works. And here I am kind of like losing track of my layers now, because it's like, hey, I'd rather be just painting now. Alright. Question. Drop tiers of multicolored purple for water. Drop tiers of multicolored purple for water. Oh, multicolored purple for the water. I could probably do that. Add some, like, I could probably add a, what's it called? I know what you're talking about, where, you're seeing, like, a slight bit of moisture. Probably, like, something where it's, splotchy, sort of, because I have a splotchier brush that I could use that could probably work. But it's in my other purchased brushes that I bought like decades ago. Or I could probably just use one of the, there we are. Or like something like this. Let's see. Not bad. Kinda works. Kinda works. This brush is a little different, but I am trying to get it to I do need to find a more that's not the one. I have so many. Walter Wet. Maybe this'll work. Sorta. This kind of works. I just need the right size. Or at least something that's wider. I think I can make this work. But let me see if I can't find something that's more splotchy here. Because there are other brushes that could give me something that's a little bit more splotchy. A lot of these are purchase brushes that I don't use all the time, or if I use them, I don't favorite them in a spot where I'll use them often. What shit? I think this is one I've used for some surfaces. Kind of works. And one thing that also totally sucks about using some large brushes is that I don't have a machine that can let me use large enough brushes. So sometimes it can be a bit over-rendered if I'm not careful. Oh yeah, I bought a lot of brushes, mainly for like 2 or 3 brushes sometimes. It's kind of like I will buy brushes from places like True Grit's Texture Supply, mainly because I want like that really cool inking brush that they got, that they like showed off. And I'll just render over everything. Yeah, it's looking a little over-rendered. Yeah, I'm kind of like losing track of what I should be doing here. Okay, I think I need to let this go right now because yeah, I'm probably over rendering. Yeah, this is looking actually not as like it's looking not as it looks more monochrome than I want. Let's see. I could readjust the hue. Okay. I'm pushing the colors a little bit more. A slight red's making it look. Yeah, it's popping more with the slight red, so that's good. Yeah, I'll just leave it as it is. But I do still need to render the wings a little bit more. I also realized that the wings are actually specifically, because there's like, they have wings inside like this, or like this. And I think we're going to go with these wings actually. like closer to like have the wings inside be colored. Yep. Now these wings just colored up. And may like add the tips as well. Yeah, the tips look good, so I'll keep the tips. I think this one's also not a 16-bit track. I think I got like the arranged track. I also realized that I didn't put line art on this. And honestly, that probably doesn't matter. I mean, it probably does matter, but it's like, you're already here, so you might as well get to it. When is the next stream? I'm gonna try and do these streams weekly. So next Wednesday, and I'm gonna try to do this at 7 perhaps. And I'm gonna do my best to stream at 7 p.m. next Wednesday. So I usually do these streams on Wednesdays unless circumstances hit. But I try to stream as often as I can. But for now, I'd say my schedule is Wednesdays. Wednesdays, hopefully at 7. I'm probably gonna miss it out, but I'm going to push myself to not miss it. You know, I would like to get myself on a more consistent streaming schedule if I can. And if I fail in that streaming schedule, I will always archive them, or I will stream either the next day or I guess another day. Alright, you have a good night so far. Yeah, so far it's been pretty decent, rendering 2 characters so far. 2, 3-ish. Yeah, so far so good with this. I'm making slight progress, even though I've completely distracted myself, but I'm currently in a flow, so that's pretty cool. This is the first time I've actually managed to just stay in flow for once. Usually I'll come home dead tired and I don't want to talk at all, and I'll be mumbling. And technically this is supposed to be top of a wing as well. But yeah, you know, I try to stream as often as I can. And, you know, if you're following me, or at least you're watching right now, and you want to catch me do my stream, in case I miss out, you know, hit the notification bell on the Twitch stream, and Twitch will automatically notify anyone who has their notifications that I'm actually streaming. And, you know, that's pretty nice. You know, Twitch is good like that. But it only really works if you just turn on the notification bell. I mean, I try to put out a tweet on the night, or at least 30 minutes before. But you know how Twitter is. Twitter can be fickle with that. So I can't really depend on just Twitter for all that stuff. So I do my best to kind of just stay working. Though I do want to at least push the contrast with this a little harder. I don't want this. Next. Next. I think this is the arranged one. Ah, no wonder. I've got just got a bunch of arcade tracks. Yeah, well. And this music's from Puyo Puyo, not Mean Machine. I've tricked you all. Go away, Sonic fans. This is Puyo Puyo music, not Sonic music. I'm awful at Mean Bean Machine and or Puyo Puyo. I tried playing Puyo Puyo Texas a while ago, but Puyo Puyo is tougher to play than Tetris. Like Tetris, it feels instinctual, but Puyo Puyo takes a lot to figure it out. Alright. So far, so good with that. Looks good. Let's add the other hippo. Right hippo. R-I-G-H-T hippo. Oh shit, I did find my key lime pie reference. It's right here. And I feel like a dope. Fantastic. I love that. I love it when I don't find my stuff. And I also realize it's more of a white color. It probably push the flapper to be towards the lighter side of the pie here. I like do this. Alright, so far so good. A little bit more yellow, and that'll work. More key lime pie flavor. Looks alright. Back to these hippos. have this other hippo look. Now you look more like walrusy. Well, it kind of worked. Look more like a stegosaurus too. Like a combination walrus stegosaurus. Okay. Let's just get to it. I get you nice and shiny. Yeah, I like to try my best to establish as much of the core light as possible. Just so I don't get myself crushed by the details just yet. Then I establish where the eyes really are. What the? One of my monitors turned off. Shoot. Establish all the light, including where the tail is. And of course I can sculpt out the tail much later. I am feeling slightly better about my drawing than I usually do. Usually be like completely depressed and out of energy and not want to do anything. But you know, tonight has been better than I expected actually. Like, right before I was streaming, I was just feeling like crap. Like, I didn't want to do any streaming, I didn't want to do any drawing. And I think that says a lot about just streaming in general. It's like, just the before streaming, you don't want to do anything. And you kind of just feel like too much crap that you want to cancel. But then once, you know, things turn on and you get yourself in a good enough groove, it gets easier. I think that's probably a good metaphor for, you know, just doing things in general. Like, getting started is the hard part, but finding that little catalyst to say, alright, we're starting right now, and you find, like, the little thing to start. I'd say in this case, it's turning on OBS, or like, yeah, turning on OBS, pressing the record button. Or if you want to go even further, like opening Twitch. Or maybe if you really want to go further, opening your paint program after work. And kind of just dealing with that. You don't want to paint today, but guess what? you're painting today because, well, you showed up to paint. You wanted to paint, you planned on painting, and guess what? You're painting because you have your program open and you decide, yes, you're going to paint. Kind of like trying to build up that momentum of doing the thing and getting yourself into the momentum of actually just getting yourself self-motivated enough to actually do the thing that you set out to do. You know, it's different for most people. Me, I have to have a thing like set up, like there is a thing that I need to color and it's needs to be painted. Sorry about that. I think I lost track of what I was saying. I was saying something about making yourself motivated. I need a drink while I just chat. You know what? Let's zoom out. Let's save. I haven't saved actually. There's probably been a lot of auto-save, but not actual saving. So, I don't know why the okay, I was like, why is the shortcut key working? Yeah, this project is hitting, I'd say, critical mass, where the file size is now just getting so large and unwieldy that I might need to start flattening some things. It's entirely possible. I'll need to start flattening some painted stuff just so I can have some stuff, have the RAM and programming processing power to keep going. What time is it right now? 9:21. Okay, I've been streaming for hour 57 minutes. Not bad. I'll finish this character. I think I'll just wrap the stream for tonight. So yeah, do this, knock out the other hippo, and then it shouldn't be that much of a stretch to just call it a night. I'd say I've made some decent progress, though it does help that I was working on, I'd say, the easier aspects of the piece. You know, like, you know, she's pretty round, she has a bit of roundness to her, so it's easier for her to paint as opposed to this character who has like a shit million details. But I'd say I'm getting better at getting this to work. Plus, like, getting the shading going. Yeah, it's just, fuck it, Peter Gunn. Yuzo Kishiro's just like Peter Gunning it right now. But he's like, yeah, fuck it, man. This goes hard. I just realized that I kind of just stopped giving a fuck about the layers now. Man, I wonder what kind of world would it be like if frickin' Shining Force was still around and actually going toe-to-toe against Fire Emblem. What kind of alternate universe would that be if Shining Force was still around? I don't know. Probably like more furries, I suppose. Shining Force just had a lot more like furry characters than Fire Emblem overall. I'd probably like push the highlights up here. Okay. I could probably push to just a wee. Yeah, that looks kind of good. So I probably could push his main color to be a darker red. Yeah, that kind of works. Yeah, like an overlay, an add. It looks kind of good. Push you higher. Yeah. Again, start with a larger brush. A slight let's push you slightly higher. Get a little bit of rim light going. And push you to cool. You hit the surface a little bit. Your colors sort of blend. It's subtle, but it's there. Plus there's a slight pink. It's slightly there, but it is there. It's not like it's not there. I could probably do some more shading with this teeth too. Push it down, but push it yellower. Oh yeah, this is an overlay. I need shading. There you are. This could probably be slightly darker. and push this slightly towards yellow. Yeah, we're just gonna have well-rendered teeth. Fuck it all. In fact, I realized I forgot to render these teeth, actually. Boom. There we are. Get you nice and going. Get slightly lit, then push it purple. Yeah, like push it a higher light. Bada boom. That kind of works. Back to this. The slight reflective surface now work. Liner kind of like is a problem, but I can fix you up. Push this out. Technically, this still hits it. Okay. I just need to push this higher. Push much further up. Get you a little splotch here. Okay. Slightly smaller. Keeps going. And probably like go over the inks. Just start going over the inks. Push that yellow. And I still need to play SMT 2. Actually, I still need to get through SMT 5. I should do that. I should play that game ASAP. I beat like Final Fantasy 1 and 3 before I beat 5. That's not good. I think it's because like FF3 is like dead simple. You could beat that in an afternoon if you really know what you want. If you really just grind it, it's just it's a 20-hour game roughly. So if you like played two super grind sessions and just went hard AF, you could probably get through FF3 fairly quickly. Alright. Alright. Yeah, Donkey Kong Country 3 is pretty underrated in terms of like soundtracks. So far, so good. Kind of like Serum and Ref's kind of like seeing what looks good. Alright, let's see. What can be blended, what can't. And this can be blended out. This can also be blended. I want to keep the hard shadows here. Just enough. Like blend out the shadow here. That's as far as I go. You know, this sounds a lot for this track sounds a lot like Sirius from Sirius and Eye of the Sky from Alan Parsons' project. Obviously, it's like higher pitched. Let's see. What's it currently playing right now? Oh, it's playing Top Gear. Okay. Again, I don't pay attention enough to, you know, what my playlist is playing right now. But I am slightly listening to it. So that's something. You need to splash this just a bit. And this is where I do need to go back to digging into my brush to figure out like where the fuck. Let's see what checked. Can I? There we are. This will work. Kinda, sorta. That is not a smooth loop. It sometimes bothers me when games don't have smooth loops in their music. I mean, it's probably like asking for a lot, and it's probably difficult to set up your music so it can loop. But if I could set up my animations to loop, like, it should be able to set up my stuff. You know, I kind of just realized that I don't really set my animations up so that they're like actual storytelling acting animations. Like, I feel like my acting animations are actually not as good as my like animation loops. Though I could chalk it up to like me not doing animation in like several years. Yeah, it's solid. We're just gonna paint on top of this because I don't even know what to do with myself overall. If I need to change the colors, I'm gonna have to paint on top of it. And that's how it be. Today it's I think I got this. Fire right there. One streak for this. One streak. Okay, so far so good. I mean, this has been pretty decent. I managed to get a good bottom right half done, so that's pretty good. All that's left is maybe that demon over here, and then the entire left side. Then I'll actually legit be done with this entire... Well, I probably need to refine this character just a bit more. I think I'll probably just do it off screen, maybe. Yeah, that'll work. I think for now, I'm gonna just wrap the stream then. Had a decent work day, and I want to rest, maybe render this video, maybe export this video, and get some sleep. Tomorrow I need to head back to work, but I know next week I am definitely streaming, and I'm gonna conserve my, I guess, stream energy and make sure that I just don't burn myself out with work. So next week, probably just continue on with this once again, and I'll probably just be done with this by maybe the end of this month, who knows. I didn't want to keep at this, so I'll see you all next time. Let's see, let's look at Twitch here, see if there's someone we can raid, perhaps. Let's see. No one friendly. Well, I guess I'll just wrap the stream for now. Anywho's, I'll see you all next time. Y'all have a good day now.